Welcome back, everybody. Matt the Matt here. So we got some sad news yesterday. This week has obviously been a crazy week in Hollywood. One actor slapping another actor, an iconic actor, of course. We got some sad news about yesterday. Bruce Willis has been diagnosed with aphasia. Now, I'm not going to explain what it is. I'm going to put up a little card that explains the diagnosis about what's going on with Bruce Willis right now. He is officially retiring from acting because of this diagnosis. And it's kind of sad news. Obviously, Bruce Willis does get a lot of shit for, at least in the last 10 years, phoning it in. Like, if you ever want to find an actor that truly has phoned it in most of the time in the past 10 years, and has most of his movies on a direct-to-video, it would be Bruce Willis. And it's kind of a sad thing to think, because there was a time that Bruce Willis was, like, when he commits to a role, he commits to a role. Obviously, when we think of Bruce Willis, the first thing 99% of people are going to be thinking about is John McClane, Die Hard. I mean, that's the movie that truly broke him, his breakout role. Yes, he did a movie or two beforehand, but Die Hard was the movie that truly put Bruce Willis on the map. But for me personally, because this is my podcast, I'm going to talk about, there was a time in the early 2000s, very, very late 90s, but all the way from the early 2000s to the mid 2000s, that it was like Bruce Willis movie after Bruce Willis movie after Bruce Willis movie for me. And this was the guy that I was like, this is like the greatest actor in Hollywood. And that's not me being funny, that's truly, this guy can do it all. Going back and starting it, let me just go through it right here. 1998, we had Armageddon. Even when you think of Michael Bay, yeah, you think of Bad Boys, now you think of Transformers. But outside of the franchises movies, most people think of when they think of Michael Bay, is Armageddon. And Bruce Willis playing the father, Harry, an oil rig guy who gets called upon to go take down this meteor that's about to hit the Earth. Daughter played by Liv Tyler. Liv Tyler's boyfriend played by the young Ben Affleck. So that started the Bruce Willis craze for me. Watching a disaster movie directed by Michael Bay. Also had Michael Clark Duncan in that movie. Rest in peace. But once again, a fun action and movie. And Bruce Willis being a badass even there. Getting in front of Ben Affleck and giving him shit. Iconic. Then we move into 99. And 99 saw the year that said, I'm fucking Bruce Willis. The Sixth Sense. The movie that literally put Haley Joel Osment on the map. Once again, the most famous line of that movie, I see dead people. To this day, I consider The Sixth Sense one of the best movies ever made. To this day, I consider Bruce Willis' acting in that movie probably the best acting. I have one other movie that he might be better in, but between this movie and another movie, it's the best acting we've ever seen Bruce Willis. I've seen Bruce Willis do. He's phenomenal. And not only that, he was nominated for Best Actor for The Sixth Sense. So that was in 99. And then in 2000 was truly the boom, boom, boom. First we had The Kid, family-friendly Disney movie. He plays the adult version of the expensive wrestling younger version of him. I think it's one of Disney's better films. Deals with growing up, deals with your past, your present, your future, how that all dictates your life, the things you do, the decisions you make. It's a very good movie. I remember seeing that we were in Wyoming in that summer of July. We were in Montana, and I think it was like a rainy day. We're like, well, what are we going to do today? We can't go on the horseback riding trail again. So we're like, let's go see a movie. And of course, I wanted to see The Kid, but I also wanted to go see this other movie that came out called X-Men. I still remember the banner above the theater for X-Men with Wolverine and his eyes and his claws. I'm like, can we go see that movie? But I enjoyed The Kid very, very much. And then on the way home from our Wyoming trip, they had a rated R movie. The Kid was PG, and we go from PG to a rated R Bruce Willis movie. Another, to me, a famous role of his in The Whole Nine Yards, playing Jimmy the Tulip Tedeschi, Matthew Perry, Amanda Peet, and once again Michael Clark Duncan. This is a funny action comedy, and once again, Bruce Willis is awesome in the movie. He's funny, he does an action shit, he's romantic a little bit, gives Matthew Perry a lot of shit in the movie. I mean, and then, at the end of 2000, even though I didn't see this movie till the summer of 2001, because back then, people, movies didn't come out 2 months later. You had to wait 7 or 8 months for a movie to come out on video. And that was Unbreakable. The movie that was way ahead of its time, and to me it still is today, even with all the comic book movies we have out nowadays. Bruce Willis, like I said, The Sixth Sense was probably one of his best performances. I hold Unbreakable almost even or higher. Sometimes I can't tell which role is better that he did, because he is amazing in Unbreakable. He's almost more amazing in Unbreakable because he's so subtle. You know, he doesn't have many lines, he's very subdued. When he's able to give so much, bring so much to that role without much dialogue. And it's a great movie if you've never seen the cinematography, the score. It's still some of the best in any superhero film, in my opinion. And then, of course, his back and forth with Samuel L. Jackson, great. And then, then a couple years went by, he was in other movies like Tears of the Sun in 2003. But then in 2005, we had another 1-2 punch. First starting with Sin City in April of 2005. I went and saw that with my dad on a Sunday. I still remember. Springtime. And once again, he was a badass. He was a detective. Detective Hardigan, I think it was. He was looking after this little girl, or started out with a little girl. She grew up to be a stripper, played by Jessica Alba. The movie, directed by Robert Rodriguez and Frank Miller. Great cinematography. Talking about taking a graphic novel and literally going from the graphic novel to the movie screen. Oh my god, perfect. Once again, another great role he played. And then that summer of 2005, we were down in Florida, and one night we decided to rent this Bruce Willis movie called Hostage. Very underrated movie that people don't talk about as much. And let me tell you, Ben Foster in that movie, one of the creepiest roles he's ever played. Once again, a good underrated movie. He goes in to try and save these boy and this girl from 3 shitheads. Trying to rob them, get something out of the place, money, whatever. Once again, another great performance by Bruce Willis. Very underrated movie, I highly recommend it. And then in 2007, he came out with another Die Hard movie, Live Free or Die Hard, directed by Len Wiseman. I really This is the first Die Hard movie I ever saw in a theater. And I really like Die Hard 4. I think Die Hard 4 is actually probably my second favorite Die Hard movie. Len Wiseman directed, just coming off of Underworld 1 and 2. It had Timothy Oliphant as the villain, Maggie Q as his love / assistant. Justin Long, just coming off of Dodgeball. And Mary Elizabeth Winstead, it was her second role coming right off of Final Destination 3. And I really like Die Hard 4. And I think it's one of the best action. It was one of the best action movies of that year. Up there with the first Transformers that came out. The action's great. Bruce Willis still on top of his shit. I love the cyber terrorism angle. It kind of took him out of his normal comfort zone. But he was still able to be a badass. And then there were movies here and there. But it really wasn't until 2012 that we saw the last great performance of Bruce Willis, and that was in Looper, the Rian Johnson sci-fi film, co-starring Joseph Gordon-Levitt, Emily Blunt, and Jeff Daniels was in there too. Very good movie, another one that people don't talk about as much, but Bruce Willis was once again, a badass, but also being dramatic at times. Very good role for him. And I feel like that was the last time we really seen a great performance of Bruce Willis. And there's nothing wrong with it. He's given us so much, even a movie like The Fifth Element. Not a huge fan of that movie, but a lot of people love that movie and love his character in the movie. He showed up in Glass, the long-awaited sequel to Unbreakable. And we're learning that even back when he was doing Glass, shooting it, there were signs of something's not right with Bruce Willis. We all thought, and like I said, in the past 10 years, he's been doing a lot of phoning it in. But for the past 4 or 5 years, apparently there have been signs that, there's something going on with Bruce. But overall, I just wanted to talk about, this great actor and his contribution to the film industry. From, like I said, Die Hard is one of the most iconic action franchises, John McClane. When you think about action heroes, John McClane is definitely up there. And then, like I said, you look at he can be a comedian in a movie like The Whole Nine Yards, or even a movie like The Kid, he can bring the humor, he can bring the action. And like I said, we saw in The Sixth Sense where he was nominated for Best Actor, and then he followed that right up with Unbreakable, another great performance in the dramatic department. He can do it all. And that's why when people say they can tell he's phoning it in, it shows. Like when he did the movie Death Wish remake, back in, what was that, 2017 or whatever, you can tell he's phoning it in because we know Bruce Willis. He's a great actor. If he wasn't a great actor, we'd be like, oh, he's just not a good actor. That's him being himself. No. We know Bruce Willis is a great actor. It's kind of sad to not see him probably ever take on another role again in a movie theater. It looks like Glass was the last one. Not in a weird kind of way. Kind of poetic, kind of not. Especially if you've seen the movie Glass. We're gonna miss this guy. It's kind of sad, When Disney got the rights to Die Hard, I was like, oh, maybe they'll make that Die Hard movie that they've been talking about. Len Wiseman was gonna come back, who did the fourth one. It was almost gonna be like a present and past movie where they were gonna get a young John McClane along with Bruce Willis coming back. So there was going to be something going on in the present, but then that ties back to the past. But it looks like now we're definitely not getting that movie with Bruce Willis. Now Disney will definitely be rebooting Die Hard eventually. you know. So, this week, or this weekend, you know, like I said, I ran off a bunch of Die Hard movies, not Die Hard, Bruce Willis movies. You know, go check one of them out, or go watch one of your favorite Bruce Willis movies. I mean, yippee-ki-yay, motherfucker.